Hello, welcome everyone. Today we're going to be talking about power, who has it, how to use it, and what it reveals about their character. And we're going to look at 3 encounters that Jesus has with people who are powerless and what his response tells us about what God might actually be like. So today's reading is going to be in Matthew 8, 1 to 17, and then I'm going to kick us off. So let me get started. When Jesus came down from the mountainside, large crowds followed him. A man with leprosy came and knelt before him and said, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. "I am willing," he said, "be clean." Immediately he was cleansed of his leprosy. Then Jesus said to him, "See that you don't tell anyone, but go, show yourself to the priest and offer the gift Moses commands as a testimony to them." When Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him and asked for help. "Lord," he said, "my servant lies at home paralyzed, suffering terribly." Jesus said to him, "Shall I come and heal him?" The centurion replied, "Lord, I am not deserving to have you come under my roof, but just say the word and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority with soldiers under me. I'll tell you this, go, and he goes, and that one, come, and he comes. I say to my servant, do this, and he does it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed, and he said to those following him, "Truly I tell you, I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. I say to you that many will come from the east and the west, and will take their places in the feast with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the subjects of the kingdom will be thrown outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Then Jesus said to the centurion, "Go, let it be done just as you believe it would be." And his servant was healed at that moment. Amazing, thank you. Andy, you've actually done a sermon on this a few weeks back, and I thought it'd be great to just unpack it and kind of ask you some questions about it. So, when you did the sermon, you opened with a quote from Hubert Humphrey about how the moral test of any government is how it treats the vulnerable. Why start there? What's the connection to Jesus?
Well, it's incredibly contemporary, isn't it? So this guy says that, I think, in the 70s. And right now, as you and I are talking, we are finding ourselves in the middle of the Epstein files being released.
Yeah.
And the whole issue is, how does somebody with power use that power? What is their character like? And what we're discovering in our world is that people with power do not have character and are therefore not using their power well. Matthew's asking a question, so what about Jesus? What's he going to be like?
That's really good. And for someone who isn't religious, why does it matter how a first century rabbi treated sick people? What's the relevance to today?
Because this first century rabbi claims to be God Almighty, the living creator God, come in flesh on earth. Now, if that's true, and I appreciate people watching this might not agree with that, but bear with me. If that's true, what's this guy going to be like? How will he use his power? Because we're going to get an insight into what the God of the universe is like. Well, what's Jesus going to be like? How will he use his power?
And you said Jesus had just finished teaching on a mountainside, so the Sermon on the Mount specifically. Why does Matthew place this healing immediately after the famous teaching?
Because, the Sermon on the Mount is, and if you've never read it, read it. Matthew chapter 5 to Matthew chapter 7. Amazing. So much of what we take to be true and live out in our lives is based on this passage, and we don't even realize it, perhaps. Jesus gives the most amazing sermon that's ever been given. But words are cheap, right? What are his actions going to be like? And that's what we're going to see. Yeah. Will he act in line with his words or not? And again, it's contemporary, isn't it? We look at our leaders and just think, oh man, you say, yabba, 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 you say all these great things, but you don't follow it through. What's Jesus going to be like? Is he going to be any different?
Yeah, that's really good. So we've had the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus comes down from the mountain and crowds follow him, and everyone's watching him at this moment, right? And the first person who approaches him is someone most people would avoid entirely. So this moves us on to the next section, which is, well, let's talk about the man with leprosy. So for people who don't know the cultural context, what did it actually mean to have this disease in that society?
Leprosy is a skin disease. It's a really nasty skin disease. It's still around in the world today. And, it's horrible, right? But that isn't the central part about this. What the leprosy does is it keeps you away from people because it can be transferred. And so I think it's a little bit like COVID, isn't it? You were in a supermarket at COVID, somebody starts kind of coughing and everybody quietly puts the baked beans down and drifts out the door because, I don't want to get this. Yeah. But whereas for us, that all lasted, about a year, and, we were isolated from one another. This man is living in that isolation all his life. He can't go near people. He has to cry out, unclean, as somebody comes near him. Terrifying.
The leper asks, if you're willing, can you make me clean? You pointed out he doesn't ask, can you, but will you? Why is this distinction so important?
Because for us, the question is, can you? Jesus, can you really do anything? Can you heal people? Can you calm storms? Really? For them, this is they know he can. They've seen it. They're in no doubt. The question is, will you? So Jesus, all this power that you've got, how will you use it? Are you going to use it like all the kind of religious authorities? You're going to use it for your cronies, for your mates, for your friends, or are you going to use it for people like me? Because I can't believe that you'd be interested in a person like me. That's the question.
So Jesus could have healed him with his word. He does exactly that later, but here he decides to touch the man first. Why do you think that matters?
Because it's beautiful, isn't it? It's just so beautiful. He could have just gone, okay, you're healed, bye-bye, clear off. But he does something amazing. He walks towards this man and he touches him. And this man has not been touched by somebody who's clean for years. And Jesus breaks that kind of barrier. You won't remember this, George, but for oldies like me, there was a moment in the height of the AIDS crisis when everybody thought, if you've got AIDS, if you just look at me, we're going to get it. Princess Di went into a hospital and she hugged somebody with AIDS.
Princess Diana.
Princess Diana. Oh. And it was so moving. That's what this is where Diana got it from. That's what Jesus did. And rather than him being infected, he heals. His power goes out to heal this nobody, but who is somebody in God's eyes.
You said something that might surprise people, that after reading the Sermon on the Mount, you don't feel confident and good about yourself. You feel unclean. What do you mean by that?
Because if you read the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus isn't just going, be a good boy, don't do this, do that. Jesus gets to the heart of it. So, he doesn't say to me, just don't get angry. He can see that the root of the anger is in my heart. And that actually, when I get angry, it's not just an emotion. I want to kill that person. I want to remove that person from my life. That lust is this, I want to own a person. I want to just own their body. He gets to the heart of what's going on. And my heart isn't clean. So yeah, it's very, very, it's very moving, and it brings you face to face with what you're really like.
For someone who's listening, who feels like an outcast, maybe they've been rejected or they're carrying shame about something in their past. What does Jesus respond? What does Jesus' response here to this man say to them?
Well, it's what he says to all of us, because all of us are in that situation. Because I've just admitted I'm in that situation. I'm unclean. Yeah. And what does he say? These beautiful words. I am willing. Will you clean me, Jesus? Will you do? Yes, I am willing. And it's actually your unworthiness that makes you worthy.
Mm.
And we're going to see this more in the next encounter, but that's what is going on here. And if you're hearing this and you feel like, you know, you're the scum of the earth and nobody wants to know, for whatever reason, you need to hear Jesus Christ, the Lord of the universe, saying to you, no, I am willing, and he will touch you and he will cleanse you. Isn't that great?
It's amazing. So Jesus welcomes the outcast, but the next person who comes to him is more surprising, because he's not just unclean, he's the enemy. So that's the bit we're going to go into now. So a question I have for you is, a Roman centurion comes to Jesus for help. For people who don't know the history, why would this have been shocking?
Really simple. I mean, the Roman centurion's no leper. He's in the exact opposite social scale. This is one of the movers and shakers of the world. You know, he commanded 100 Roman soldiers. They were occupying Israel at that time. But the whole point was they were occupying it. This guy is like a Nazi stormtrooper walking through France. You know, people had to do what they were told, but did they like him? No, you're scum. You're a foreigner. We don't like you. Get out of our country. So that's what's going on here. And yet this guy comes to Jesus because he needs help.
The centurion says, I don't deserve to have you come under my roof. And instead of disagreeing, Jesus is amazed by this. What's going on here?
Because Jesus is surrounded by people who should know exactly who he is, the religious leaders. But here is somebody who shouldn't know who Jesus is, who knows exactly who it is, because he is somebody who tells a trooper, go there, do this, do that, and they do it like that, no questions asked. And when he looks at Jesus, he realizes that Jesus has the same power and authority, but not just over a few Roman troopers, but over the whole of creation. He can say to disease, go, even to death, go. And so he knows who Jesus is, and rather than being all hoity-toity and looking down on him, he's humble. There's a real humility. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy to have you come into my house. He knows. He knows who he is.
Yeah,
extraordinary.
It's amazing. So Jesus says something quite provocative here. Let me say that again. So Jesus says something quite provocative, that many will come from east and west to the feast, but the subjects of the kingdom will be thrown out. That sounds harsh. What is he getting at?
It doesn't sound harsh. It's a little confusing. What is he talking about? What is this feast? It's basically the Jewish idea that at the end of time, I mean, it's great, isn't it? At the end of time, God's people will be together with him in a feast. It's not some sterile, boring heaven. This is a joyful place. But who's going to be there? Well, you'd expect the people who are going to be there to be the insiders.
Yeah.
You know, those who are again, these religious leaders. Those are the people who are going to be there, aren't they? And Jesus goes, no. People who are going to be there are going to be the outsiders. People like this leper, people like the centurion. They're going to be welcome. Whereas the people you expect won't be there. Everything in Jesus' kingdom is just turned upside down. It's not what we expect. It's not, I think if you're looking into Christian things, this is not what you expect, is it? You know, good people are welcome. Bad people are kept out. Nope. It's the opposite. And if you know you're bad, you're welcomed in.
Now, Andy, you mentioned being convinced about this, the danger of thinking I'm basically a good person. I tick the right boxes. Can you unpack that for someone who might be sitting in that place right now?
Yeah, I'm a pastor of a church, right? Surely I'm one of those on the inside, aren't I? I mean, it's what I do, right? No, it's not. That is not the reason I'm going to be accepted. Religious background doesn't guarantee anything at all. Actually, what it can do sometimes is make you look down on other people. And I think what Jesus is saying here is, no, it's those who who humble themselves, who know that they're not worthy, who've read the Sermon on the Mount and go, yeah, fair enough, my heart just isn't right. They're the ones who are welcome. Again, upside down.
For someone who feels like an outsider to Christianity, maybe they weren't raised religious, or they feel like they don't fit the type. What does this story say to them?
Oh, isn't it great? So you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, I don't fit in. If God knew the things that I've done, he would just push me away from him. Well, the truth is, God does know the things you have done, and he wants to draw you near. Remember, he says, I'm willing. You may actually be closer than you think you are. It's the people perhaps who are watching this thinking, well, I've been a Christian all my life. I've never done bad things. I'm a good person. You need to be very worried by this because your standing before God does not depend on what you do. And if you come to this and you think, I am unworthy, just like the centurion, well, you will get a warm welcome from Jesus.
Yeah. Okay, so Andy, we've seen Jesus welcome an outcast and an outsider. Now, the third person seems almost unremarkable, by comparison. But that's exactly the point. So the question I have for you now is, Peter's mother-in-law is sick with a fever. Jesus heals her. It's such a simple, short account. Why include it?
Because she is so unsurprised. She is so unremarkable. This is a woman who would just serve people. In that culture, she wasn't considered much. And again, Jesus heals her. Just very quiet. There's no crowds this time. Nobody's watching. He's not performing.
Yeah.
And yet he heals her as well.
So you also you compare this to an Olympic weightlifter.
Yeah.
All of the performance and attention seeking. What's the contrast you're drawing? What's the contrast that you're drawing here?
Because you've seen Olympic weightlifters, they come in and they do all the kind of the greasing. They put all the greasing up on them, and they put the stuff on their hands, and then they psych themselves up, and they're drawing attention to themselves. And we're exactly the same, aren't we? I mean, if you do something good, if you did something nice for somebody, George, the temptation is just let people know about it. We call it something. We call it humble bragging. We do that, right? So is Jesus going to be a humble bragger? He comes out of the house and go, no big deal, everybody. I've saved Peter's mother-in-law. I don't want to make a fuss about it, No, just utterly doesn't draw attention to himself. Quietly heals. Again, it's how he's using his power, not to put the spotlight on him.
Yeah.
There's a humility here.
So Andy, you asked a really challenging question. How will you use your power? So most people listening probably don't think of themselves as powerful. What do you mean by this?
Because I think, we compare ourselves to the Elon Musk or the Bill Gates or the Donald Trump or the, President Putin. And we think, well, I haven't got power. And the truth is you do. Everybody does. Everybody has power. You have influence maybe in your family, amongst your work colleagues. And perhaps you don't know it, but you do, and they're watching you. And the kind of Hubert Humphrey test is, how will you use that power? Are you going to use it for your benefit or for the benefit of others?
So Matthew ends this section by quoting Isaiah. He took up our infirmity. How do you say it?
Infirmities. Yeah.
Infirmities and bore our diseases. That sounds more like just healing sick people. What's he pointing to here?
So, if I'm a powerful person, you imagine I'm Elon Musk walking down the road and I come across a homeless person, and that homeless person goes, spare us some change, Gov. And Elon gets out his checkbook and writes a check for £1 million and gives it to her, and everybody goes, oh, that's amazing. It's not amazing because Elon's got hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, that's nothing to him, right?
Mm.
And surely it's the same with Jesus. Okay, big deal then. He's healed people, but, he can, can't he?
Mm.
Well, actually, the point of what Matthew's doing is he's giving us a little trailer pointing towards the end of his book. In order for Jesus to help the leper, to help the centurion, to help Peter's mother-in-law, there's a cost. And this verse in Isaiah is like a verse which is pointing forward to Jesus and says that he carries our infirmities and diseases. And in order for Jesus to bring that healing to others, it is going to be at a cost to him. Where is he going to carry that? On the cross. On the cross. So for you, an outsider, for you feeling the scum of the earth, for me feeling like I just don't match up to the Sermon on the Mount, to come to Jesus and to hear him say, I am willing, will cost him his life on the cross.
So Andy, for someone who isn't religious, this idea that helping people costs Jesus something, why should that matter to them?
Because most powerful people use the power for themselves. And here is somebody we've seen who's not using it for his mates, for his club, for the insiders, for people who are going to benefit him. He's using it for the weak, for the vulnerable, for the outsider. And so he passes Hubert Humphrey's test, doesn't he? What's his character like? His character's great. He passes the test about, does he can talk the talk, but can he walk the walk? Yeah, he can. He does both. And so what I want to say to you is, I know that we look at those authority, particularly at the moment, and we are deeply cynical, but you don't have to be about Jesus. He's the real deal.
Amazing. Sandy, you asked, what would it look like for your church to become known as a community that uses its power for the powerless? That's a big vision. Why does that flow from this passage?
Because a church is made up of people who follow Jesus.
Yeah.
And therefore, the test that Matthew's applied to Jesus also applies to every church. You have power. How will you use that power? Now, if you go and join a club, it seems to me that a club serves its members. All right? So if I join a tennis club, the club serves me. It helps me to play tennis.
Yeah.
I pay the club, they give me something back. Very straightforward. Yeah. And I think a lot of people think that a church is just a religious club that serves religious people who pay their dues. And the answer is it's not, or at least it shouldn't be. A church is doing what Jesus did, using its power to serve those who are outcast, those who are weak, those who are lowly, those who are unnoticed, those who feel dirty. And will we do that? Will we pass that test?
Now, Andy, for someone who's listening, who doesn't have faith, but found something compelling in this, what would you want them to do with that?
I think I want you to ask the question, is Jesus the real deal? Okay? And I hope we've seen together that if nothing else, if God were to come in the flesh, isn't this how you'd expect? Isn't this exactly how you'd expect him to behave? And if that is the case, then this has got to be worth looking into, hasn't it? Look into the claims of Jesus. Just see if he is the real deal. And if he is, well, that could change your life. That could be the most exciting discovery you have ever made. And if that's the case, it's worth spending a bit of time doing that.
You ended that sermon by saying, let's amaze Jesus, referring to how Jesus was amazed by the centurion's faith. What does that actually look like in practice?
So I think it means saying, I'm not worthy, living like that, but saying, I trust you. And I just think this is incredible that it is possible to amaze the God of the universe by the way you live, to amaze him by not being arrogant and proud, by not thinking that you're the bee's knees and you can rule the world or you deserve stuff. If I'm humble, if I come to Jesus like the leper did, are you willing? Would you help me? Then we pass the test, don't we? It's just incredible, and Jesus is amazed. The God of the universe is amazed at us. That you could do today, by the way you live.
Amazing. So what's the one thing you hope someone takes away from this conversation, whether they have faith or not?
I think two things. First of all, that Jesus is who he says he is. I think we've seen that. We spent quite a bit of time on that. And then I think the other thing is that the surprise that the door is wide open to you if you know that you're not who you should be. And please, if you're, maybe the church has hurt you, maybe you've had bad experiences in the past, maybe religion just puts you off and so on. Okay, fine, I get that. I totally get that. But here is a welcome. Here is somebody reaching out their hand to touch you and to draw you in. I mean, what could be better than that? Yeah. Just come to Jesus. Yeah.
Amen. Thank you so much, Andy. And for everyone listening out there, you might be compelled or really want to do something about this and just don't know where to start. Within the description of this video, there's going to be a link to Harbour Church, which is the church Andy's the minister of, and I have the pleasure of going to. Feel free to just click on that link, reach out. Andy might even reach out himself directly. So please come with any questions that you might have. We have Sunday services at Paul High School every Sunday at 10:30. Well, 10 a.m. tea and coffee, and then 10:30 it all kicks off. So feel free to come and join us, but just reach out, and if we have to, we'll meet you and we'll find a way to get you there, or just meet you where you are. So thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.
Bye.